I'd have my computer with me and I'd do a little spreadsheet, figure out how much money I could make on a title, and I'd be able to make a decision right there, make somebody an offer.
It was at an American trade show that Henk met Atari's Randy Brolight and first saw the game that would make his fortune.
Tetris was probably the quietest game at the show. Even then, products were graphically exciting and audio exciting. This game had a totally different thing. I wanted to play it not because it was any of those things, but because it struck some basic chord and couldn't stop playing.
Henk secured both PC and video game rights for Japan and returned home to create his own versions of Tetris. Tetris was evolving and expanding into 3 major world markets, and everyone was cashing in. Everyone, that is, apart from the Russians.
We'd send our money to Microsoft. Was Stein getting paid? Was he paying who he was supposed to pay? But somewhere along the chain, somebody wasn't paying.
Elorg drafted in a new broom from Communist Party headquarters to sort things out. Nikolai Belakov's first job was to examine the original agreement with Robert Stein's company Andromeda Software.
Вот когда я его прочитал, мне стало просто плохо, потому что в этом соглашении было указано, что первый платеж должен был быть произведен в течение 3 месяцев. Договор был подписан 10 мая 1988 года, уже был октябрь. После этого я стал думать, что делать с этим договором, как заставить Andromeda Software платить деньги.
As Belakov pondered this problem, developments on the other side of the world were about to change his fortune. Industry giant Nintendo were about to launch a handheld game playing device and wanted to sell Tetris as part of the package. But first, they needed someone to discreetly secure them the rights.
We showed Hank Rogers a prototype of Game Boy and a prototype of Tetris playing on Game Boy. So he immediately moved very quickly.
Henk went straight to the top of the chain, to the one man who had been dealing directly with the Russians.
I contacted Robert Stein, and I said, Robert, you need to represent me to get the rights to Tetris for Game Boy from Russia. And he agreed, and I sent him, I think, $25,000.
I'm not surprised. I mean, anybody working with bacteria must...
Little did he know that Stein had been discussing the same rights with Microsoft.
He was trying to muscle in on something which was spoken for, the Tetris. On the other hand, I wasn't going to be dismissive of him because I seen him as a potential licensee of products which we produce or develop in Hungary.
We were exchanging faxes on a weekly basis for, I don't know, 3 months. And then I started getting nervous because it just seemed to be taking so long. And he said he was going to go to Russia. And he kept on saying that, and he wasn't going. So I became really suspicious.
Robert Stein's negotiations with the Russians had reached an impasse over the money he owed them.
Andromeda Software присылала телексы с просьбой начать переговоры по новому лицензионному договору для игровых автоматов. Вот. Но моя реакция была на все эти телексы только одна. Сначала, пожалуйста, выполните условия первого подписанного договора, только после этого мы будем говорить, проводить переговоры по следующему лицензионному договору.
By February 1989, Henk Rogers was tired of waiting around and increasingly suspicious that Stein was working for someone else.
I guess I panicked and I said, get me on a plane. This guy's going to get the rights for somebody else, and I need those rights. And so I was on a plane 2 days later, going to Moscow.
But Hank Rogers wasn't the only one flying into Moscow that week.